You're sitting at your desk at 11 p.m. Again. Your textbooks are open. Your notes are everywhere. You've been studying for 3 hours, but you can barely remember what you read in the first hour. Your brain feels like it's moving through mud. You tell yourself you're just not smart enough. You tell yourself your memory is bad. But what if I told you that you're not broken? You're just using the wrong method. What if the Japanese have figured out something we haven't? Today, I'm showing you exactly how to study 3 times faster. Your life is about to change. Here's what most of us do when we study. We read, we highlight, we read again. We make pretty notes that look amazing, but teach us nothing. We feel productive because we're busy, but busy isn't the same as effective. This is the trap that keeps millions of students stuck. You can study for 10 hours and still fail the exam. You can spend weeks preparing and still feel unprepared. The problem isn't your effort. The Japanese discovered something called yomu, which means active reading. But it's not just reading faster. It's reading smarter. It's engaging your brain in a completely different way. When Japanese students study, they don't highlight textbooks. They don't make notes while reading. They do something radically different. And it's why Japanese students consistently perform at the highest levels internationally. The first step is what I call the preview attack. Before you open your textbook, you do something most students skip entirely. You ask yourself questions. What am I about to learn? What do I already know about this topic? What do I want to get out of this? This takes 90 seconds. That's it. Just 90 seconds. But here's the magic. Your brain suddenly wakes up. It stops being passive. It becomes active. It starts hunting for answers. When your brain is hunting, it remembers. When your brain is passively receiving information, it forgets almost immediately. Think about the last time someone told you gossip. You didn't forget it because your brain was actively engaged. It was curious. It mattered to you. It had meaning. Your textbook can have the same effect if you create that curiosity first. Before reading about photosynthesis, ask yourself how plants actually make food. Before reading about history, ask yourself why that war mattered. This one shift changes everything. You're no longer a passive receiver. You're an active hunter. And hunters remember what they hunt for. Now you read, but you read differently. You read in chunks. Not the whole chapter, just one section, maybe 3 to 5 minutes of reading. This is where most students fail. They think reading longer means learning more. It doesn't. Your brain has limited focus. After 5 minutes of intense reading, your attention starts dropping. Your attention crashes. The text. And the Japanese method respects everything you remember. You read a little, not in a neat way. Then you stop, just quickly. Then you do something everything crucial. You can remember about what you just read. This is called the recall test, and it's the most important part. This is where learning actually happens. Your brain isn't retrieving information passively anymore. It's struggling. It's fighting to remember. And that struggle is what burns the information into your memory. This moment matters. This is when something shifts inside you. You'll realize that you actually retained more than you thought. You'll feel that little spark of confidence. That's not luck. That's your brain forming new connections. Every time you struggle to remember something and then succeed, your brain releases dopamine. You feel good. Your motivation increases. This is the moment where studying stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. Most students never experience this because they never test themselves. Here's the second step. Spacing. The Japanese don't study one subject for 8 hours straight. That's torture. That's how you burn out. That's how your brain goes numb. Instead, they space their study sessions. They study math for 45 minutes. Then they switch to history for 45 minutes. Then back to math. This isn't just different. It's scientifically superior. When you switch subjects, your brain gets a break from one type of thinking while staying engaged in another. You don't get tired. Your focus stays sharp. And here's the hidden benefit. When you come back to math after studying history, Your brain has already started forgetting what you learned. So when you review, you're forcing your brain to retrieve the information again. And that retrieval is what makes learning stick. This is why spacing works better than cramming. Cramming feels productive because you're doing so much in one day. But your brain isn't designed to work that way. Most students fight this. They want to study one subject until they feel like they know it. But that feeling is an illusion. That's called fluency. You feel like you know something because you just reviewed it 5 minutes ago. But try to remember it next week and it's gone. The Japanese method bypasses this illusion. You space your sessions so that you're always slightly forgetting and relearning. This is uncomfortable at first. It feels like you're not making progress. But that discomfort is actually the sign that real learning is happening. The third step is interleaving. This is where most Western students never go. Instead of practicing 10 math problems all the same type, you practice math problems of different types mixed together. One algebra problem, then one geometry problem, then back to algebra. This makes studying harder. Your brain has to work more, but that's the point. When problems are the same type back to back, your brain learns which method to use. Missing days breaks the pattern. Missing days resets your progress. So the real skill isn't studying harder. It's showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. This is where discipline becomes identity. This is where you stop relying on motivation and start relying on systems. You don't study because you feel like it. You study because you're the kind of person who keeps their commitments to themselves. That identity will carry you through moments when motivation dies. And it will die. That's normal. That's where discipline takes over. This is the transformation. Not a magical one, a real one. In 3 weeks, you'll study less and remember more. In 2 months, your grades will shift. In 3 months, you won't recognize yourself. Not because of one special trick. Because you finally have a system that works with your brain instead of against it. The Japanese didn't invent genius.